I assume everybody can see me. Is that what's going on? Okay, good. Well, I guess Eric's going to join me, I would assume, right? I'm not sure what I'm doing. It's good to see everybody. Good to see you, good to see you, good to see you. Sarah, good to see you. Great to see you, Joe Wilson TV. Always great to see your face. I guess click anywhere. Person calling in. Click anywhere. Accept. Got it. I see. Accept. I guess I do that. I guess I somehow took control. I'm not sure how. There we go. Eric, I was in
go.
Somehow.
Yes.
That was scary.
Gary, what's up, man?
Brother, how are you?
Good. Perfect. Thank you for joining Product Hunt Live. I know we got 30 minutes, so let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, Gary, let's start with the book. Why, ask Gary V, why this book? Why now?
Mainly because I want to change my speaking career into basically Q&A town halls. And so I set up on a journey 18 months ago to build my brand around the Q&A format. That was in reaction to, I think, people really liking me at Q&A. It's where I separated myself. Eric, not a lot of people are in the jam sessions that you get to come to at South by, where people really get to see the depth of my knowledge. And so I think Q&A was where I was able to do that. And I thought it was a good place to organize my brand around. So I started a show. The show went really well. And the book then was an opportunity for me to take it to the next level. And so now I think after this book comes out, I've already seen an uptick in my viewership on the show. And I'm excited about having my brand be kind of situated in the Q&A space. There he is. I can hear you now. You're back.
Perfect. Gary, now we were talking this past weekend about attention, and you are so fascinated with attention. You have been for so long. Why is that? What does that mean to you? And what do people not really understand about attention?
Well, it's what's going on right now, right, Eric? I mean, we're basically doing a radio show from 20 years ago with a little bit of video here. I just don't think there's anything besides attention. Attention is the thing, right? It's the one thing that that you have to amass before you tell anybody to vote for you, to buy your sneakers, to sign up for Product Hunt, to buy wine, to buy the book. And once you have that attention, the creative is the variable, right? What you say matters. But so many people talk and think about saying things and what matters without realizing that they don't have the attention first, they're dead. And so people get caught up in dumb shit like impressions or, general awareness without understanding, is there a depth of that intention, impression? Like, I know that I can't quantify against impressions because on Twitter, I'm getting enormous amounts of impressions, but I know people aren't consuming it. On Snapchat, I have a lot less, but I'm getting people to do things like I did with early Twitter. So attention to me is the asset. It's humans' number one thing, right? It's the most valuable thing. And so that's why I'm obsessed with it. I don't think you can win. Look, even think about Product Hunt. Think about why influencers were so important. It's how you guys built. The digital influencers really gave it a lot of daps, and that they all have attention, and that created a little bit of smoke, and then you get media outlets to pay attention, and that creates smoke. And so to me, whether it's PR, influencer marketing, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, doing a live stream right now, Periscope, Snapchat, we're all fighting for one thing, attention. And then what you do with it becomes the variable of your success. But I'm obsessed with it because it starts there. Right. I could give the greatest keynote. It's the greatest content of all time, but nobody heard it. Mm-hmm. And so that's the key.
And tell us about the moment when you fell in love with Snapchat, when you realized that this is the next sort of, attention gathering.
To me, it was when I started noticing two things. One, it climbing on the charts on the iTunes store, And two, when I started seeing normal people at airports that were very young, clicking a yellow button over and over and doing things, that I realized it was Snapchat. And that was probably summer of 13, where that kind of really, I mean, I knew about it from 2011 or 12, I think. And then summer of 13 is when it really caught my attention. I've been watching it very carefully. And then last summer is when, August is when I got really serious. I'm like, holy crap, it's really happening. And then, obviously the DJ Khaled thing happened in November and December. And I was like, of course.
Like, what does that mean to you?
Same thing that happened with Ashton and Twitter. Like, there's a moment where, like, you can see it bubbling up. It's bigger than people realize. And then somebody with already a mainstream audience of some level jumps, grabs it, is the right personality for it. And then everybody just starts paying attention. And so it's like a piece of paper on a smoldering fire, right? Like, it's smoldering, like it's happening. And then that person's that piece of paper and that starts the fire. So it made a lot of sense to me. I'm not mainstream enough yet to, like, I'm not a mainstream, like, I can't do it. Like, a social media person can't do it. It has to be somebody from, they live on television or radio or print, at least for now. That's still the way it plays out.
At the peak of his attention, let's say he came to you, Gary Vee, and said, how do I optimize, capitalize on this attention? What should I do? And he's asking you for advice. He could do, tons of different things, from like books to startups to products to, what do you advise him what he should do to capitalize?
Try to figure out what he's good at, right? I think, again, Ashton actually understands tech. There's been a lot of celebrities that have lost money in betting on bullshit tech, right? Like, what is he good at? And I think what he's good at is creating content. And so to me, sponsored deals from brands is a big play. I think he should invest and get access to, some deals. It's a lottery ticket. You might get the next product, you might get the next Snapchat, you might get the next Uber. But I think all of the above. I think there's a million ways to monetize. I think the first thing you do is you monetize what you actually do. He's getting paid a lot more money to DJ every night than he was 4 months ago, right? And so, I think brand deals is going to be a big one for him. That's what I believe he should be doing. And so that's, I think it's different for everybody. It depends on your skill set.
For you, you decided you wanted to get into tech investing. You wanted to, write books. Like, what was that process like for you? And what were some other things you tried?
Well, up until I was 32, I just ran one business and I was super quiet. And, I think when Google bought YouTube for $2 billion, 1.6 billion, and I was right about another thing, I was like, all right, this talent is bigger than just selling wine. I've been right about every consumer trend in the last 7-8 years. I need to go out and make money. I should be an investor. And so my path to that investment it was when it clicked that I was smarter than maybe I even realized. And so I started talking about it. So I started making videos about it. I started giving keynotes. A keynote led to a book. That book went very viral. And then I started becoming friends with all the Web 2.0 guys, and opportunities came to invest. So it just kind of came natural to me, but it mainly happened when I realized I had something.
You not being mainstream enough, even as a sort of, big online celebrity and successful in various milieus, have you thought, sort of made a decision at one point you have to make your work more accessible to a broader audience? Or how have you sort of made that, tension or balance there?
It's a good question. I decided that I won't adjust anything. I have to be me. That's my biggest thing, right? So that's that. And then as far as, like, should I do television or other things, I've just tried to, right now I'm actively running a business. I just can't do a television show while being the CEO of a 650 person firm. Even this book tour takes me away. Did I freeze? Here we go. Even this book tour takes me away from the business more than I'd like. And I've been in this hotel room since I just flew from Sydney, Australia to Cleveland, Ohio, and when I land, I'm like been dealing with fires and, and all sorts of like business stuff. So I just can't do a TV show yet or ever. Maybe by the time maybe I'm ready, there'll be Netflix, there'll be Over the Top, there'll be all these other stuff,
who sort of like grounds you? You know, like is it your well? Let me ask you about your work relationship with your brother. How do you guys complement each other? What does he focus at? What how does he?
I think AJ's, first of all, he compliments me by not wanting the same things that I want. He's very behind the scenes. He doesn't want to be out there. That's super important. So we have different wants and needs. That's big. He compliments me in that he's very detail oriented. I don't have to worry about a lot of the financial stuff because I know he's got it. And I think that's super important for me in running a business. So he's a great note taker. He's very type A, right? He's quite organized, and I'm more vision and energy and branding, and and then we overlap, right? Like I don't think people, a lot of times, our friends try to like say things like, "Oh, AJ's really running it," and I laugh. I'm like, don't forget, I built a $65 million business while he was in high school. Like, I overlap 80%, and he's more magic than people realize. We just know that we can both stay in our lanes and do our thing.
Has been starting businesses ever since he was at BU.
Yeah, I mean, even further back to that, when AJ was 12, we've been flipping stuff on eBay. So, I've been teaching AJ entrepreneurial ways from the get. That's what an older brother does, and so it's been a lot of fun. I can't hear you, Er.
Was that one of your ideas of legacy is that you want everyone you meet to show up at your funeral, and taking that you want to have a profound impact on the people that you touch. Now you have so many people who love you, so many friends, so many fans. What about people who don't? There are obviously going to be haters out there, people who say who knew you at the beginning and say Gary sold out or perceive something as inauthentic. What do you say to those people? Not that you have to say anything, but how do you sort of think about that? Does it get to you?
Yeah, it gets to me a lot. Like I like being liked, and not everybody's like that, but I am. I really like being liked, and I like people. And, look, man, it's just a constant game. I think there's a couple different things. First, everything that you do is being documented. So I know how I've interacted with you as an investor. I know how I've interacted with you as a young buck. And so and I know that you're out and about, especially because of Product Hunt. So, I'm sure there's been dinners where there's people that don't know me or only met me for 4 minutes at Summit at Sea or backstage or try to get my attention while I was at South by, but I was pulled in 800 different directions. And they'll say, Gary, whatever, he's full of shit. And then that moment comes where either you tell them the truth or not. And I know that not everybody, like I've even done that. I haven't stepped up for everybody every time, always. So, but I just think it's a net game. Eventually it comes out to be true, right? Like that's it. It just eventually comes out to be true. Like I want to convince everybody I'm a good guy, and I'm not. But I also am empathetic. I know that most people consume me when I'm in my most competitive, when I'm giving an interview, when I'm on stage, when I'm in public. I'm competitive. And even when I'm around talented people, again, you and I mainly get to spend time at South by Southwest and jam session that now Saka and Travis have made famous by talking about it. And so, I get competitive there too, as you know, but you also get to see a different side of me. And so it is what it is. I really want to be liked. I want to do the right thing. And I'll say this, Eric, I definitely think I'm in a better place with how people view me today than 24 months ago. And so that makes me feel good, right? Like I've built another big business, which gives me more chops. I created the Ask Gary Vee show, which I think has shed a good light on me. I think a lot of people, even in this chat right now, and it'll be interesting to see if they jump in and say this, I think a lot of people in this chat even have started liking me more since Ask Gary Vee because it's shown a lot more of me. So I think, I think it's just, I deal with it with empathy and understanding. I prefer to be liked more than I am right now. I'll just keep chipping away at it.
Go play in your work. Does it fuel you? How do you not let it get the best of you? Because you want to be the best, but you don't want pride to get in the way.
I like my ego. I like being competitive. This is business. Like this is not Fluff City, USA. This is goddamn business. Everybody's trying to win. I want to win. And I love my ego. I love it a lot because it makes me feel good about myself, and I want to feel good. And I don't think I'm better than anybody. You know, I really don't, Eric. I really don't. But I equally think I'm the best. And I'm pulling at these two opposite ends. And that's why I actually think that I am really pulling harder in a paradox contradiction way than most people, which is why I get big reaction. I think that I'm wired, my DNA is in a situation where I'm pulling very heavily on ego and humility in a way that some people think I'm outrageously humble and some people think I'm massively egotistical. And it makes sense to me because I recognize both of them exist within me. I also think that I'm in a great place because I'm balanced out of my extremities pulling in opposite directions. I massively care what everybody thinks about me. And I mean everybody. I mean, even, you know, Vicky, right now, Fitch, and George B. Thomas saying Daily V made him, like, I care about these things. On the flip side, it is stunning how much I don't give a shit about what anybody thinks. You know, like it's just insane. It's insane that when Liftcoms says, you know, but ego isn't self-love. I'm like, ooh, maybe she's right. I don't want to let her down. I want her to think I'm smart. But at the same token, like you've seen it in action when the smartest people in tech are like, you're wrong, Gary. I'll punch them in their face, you know? So like, you know.
And I've also seen you, at times say, oh, actually I am wrong. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think people don't like what people get from me in public is my full thoughts baked. I stay in a very hardcore lane, right? Like I don't try to guess. So you've seen me in settings where we're debating the things. Like, just for everybody, I've been referring to a lot. We do this thing called the jam session. A bunch of smart people get into a room and we just sit there for 7-8 hours debating Snapchat and Bitcoin and Musically and should Google buy Facebook and Twitter, should Google buy Twitter and and Eric, as a young buck, got invited to some of those, and I can tell you it was fun to watch. It's always fun to see the youngsters come for the first time because you literally walk. I mean, depending on the room you're in, sometimes literally 7 to 8 of the 12 biggest names in tech are sitting in the room.
It's incredible.
And so I remember like, it's just super like, whoa. And it's really hard to say anything. And I kind of was part of the founding team of it, and I usually orchestrate it. And yeah, when we're talking about things I don't know, Eric, you hear me like say Aaron Battalion from a technical standpoint, teach me, right? Or Ferriss when he's going in his way up thinking, I'm like, all right, LSD is good. Okay, I didn't know. Like, you know, like whatever it may be, like I think that people bring different values, as the same way that everybody gets quiet in the room when we talk about marketing and I kind of take the mic. The reason people don't see my humility in public when I'm on is I'm only talking about the things I know best. And I actually think the lesson for everybody who's watching right now, too many people are jumping into conversations and into, panels and replying to people's comments about things and writing mediums about shit they don't know.
Let's talk about the jam session for a second. I want to take a couple of individual members over the years, and I want you to say something about them, obviously without, while respecting their privacy, something that the public maybe doesn't appreciate about them and how smart they are, how impressive they are. Let's bring Ashton first. What can you say about Ashton that the public maybe doesn't appreciate as much?
He's on the highest of levels of thinkers and investors and understanders of tech. And there's no way that anybody watching right now would believe that because he's Ashton Kutcher. But he's one of the deeper, knowledgeable people about everything that's going on as if he was a full-time VC. And he's massively impressive.
How about Tim Ferriss?
Tim is one of the people that brings me the most value in the world because his brain's at a totally different place than where my brain's at. Like, from a life hacking standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, I really enjoy my time with Tim. He's also, I would say one thing that I don't think people understand about Tim is he's awfully kind. Like, he's a very good guy, like a very good guy. Like, really nice, actually. So I think kindness is probably underrated. And I think that people do know this about him. He's very thoughtful and is thinking about different things. And I like him a lot.
I mean, it was Chris Sacca, it was Travis. I mean, it was a bunch of these guys. Did you know back then that they would become what they became?
You know, I don't think that I realized, 5 years ago that Sacca and Travis would become multi-billionaires. Kevin Systrom, billionaire. Tony Hsieh, Drew House, all these guys. I think I knew that this was the next tier of leaders. I knew this was the next tier of leaders. I think everybody got to the financial place quicker than I anticipated. So.
What was he like in those early jam sessions?
Travis is one of my best friends during that time. He's the only person I shouted out and crush it. And, I think that Travis and I are kind of similar in some ways. Travis is very competitive. And I think it's manifested itself in people. I think that if I was the CEO of Uber, I would take a lot of flack too because of my competitiveness. And so I think that, the narrative around him, I think, is stunningly unfair. He's got a big heart, but he's outrageously competitive. I think Sacca is really fun for me because a lot of people underestimated him. I think a lot of people really underestimated him early on. And I think that, he was brilliant. He architected his position in Twitter, buying secondary in a way that most people weren't thinking about. And he created a new way of making money. He's also an unbelievable investor. I mean, we're talking about, Uber and Twitter and Instagram. I mean, this guy is a beast. And so I think he also comes across with a lot of ego and bravado. He rubs people the wrong way. But I just think that he's an unbelievable family man. He loves his girls in a way that's intense. And I respect his family dynamics quite a bit, actually.
I have a couple more questions and I'll open it to the audience. One, when you think of the term success, who and what success means to you, who most strongly comes to
me? Because I live every day of my life doing what I want to do. And I think that there's a lot of other people that are that too. And I'm sure if I knew any other person that does that every day, every second, then I think they're tied with me. But I will never complain, Eric. And you know me a little bit, like my complaining is non-existent because I've made my bed and I sleep in it. And I just love being able to. And so when I see George B. Thomas in the comment section say that he's tied with me, it makes me so much happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for him because it's an incredible feeling, whether you've got $4 or $4 billion, whether you get to spend all your time with your family or none, being able to do what you do at all times when you want to do it is a gift and a half.
Questions. What is, we just bought a few copies of the book for the office. We're super excited about it. Why should people here, and they should, why should they buy this book and what more?
So the one thing that I think there's a lot of different reasons people should buy the book, in my opinion. Number one, the far majority of people, if they're watching right now, should buy the book because I brought them value before the book came out, right? I think that's huge. I think bringing value before a book comes out is huge. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think it's my best book because I think it's my best book of the moment. I think that Economy will be my favorite book always because I think it's my deepest philosophy. And so I think that could be the best book, but the response has been overwhelming. Like, forget about what I think. Can you hear me, Eric? I'm freezing. I just want to make sure the audio is good. Like, forget about what I think. The audience response has been overwhelming, right? Like, I mean, from people that love me, you know, it's been funny. My homies have been like, yo, like Ashton was like, yo, man, this is a really good book. And I was like, whoa, 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 you're saying that like you didn't think I could write a good book. Like, so that pissed me off. And then very honestly, back to the aforementioned, maybe not haters, but like people that don't love me as much. I've gotten hundreds of emails already in the first week. Hey, man, I had to read this because I cover it for Elite Daily or for HuffPo or for New York Times. And I don't really like you. like I thought you were a dick, and I got to be honest with you, this book is really good. So I've been getting really strong feedback, the best feedback that I've ever gotten for a book, even more than Crush It, because I went both Crush It and Jab Jab. It's got something for everybody. It's got the rah-rah, philosophical, heady, and motivational stuff, and it's got very practical shit. And I think that's helped me.
His book, Ask Gary V. I'll put the link in the show notes and on Product Hunt as well. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. Take some audience questions. Neve asks, why isn't Shots more popular? Why aren't more people talking about it?
I just think it's attention space, right? Like, I like Shots. I like John Shanny a lot, by the way. I think he's a real hustler. I just think that, look, between Snapchat and Instagram, there's only so much room, and it hasn't been able to carve out its spot yet. I just think it's just true supply and demand of attention issues.
The angle makes it like more, actually takes it away from the product a little bit, or what do you think of that sort of approach?
What I refer to everybody is that Bieber's behind it, and had a lot of celebrity friends on it early on. I think at times people look at it cynically the way they look at Ashton, right? They don't believe that he could be good. So at times, but I think a great product will always be a great product. It didn't hold Jessica Alba's company back.
Lab's potential.
This is my first time on Blab. As some of you have heard, I've made the joke that I haven't gone on it because I just thought it was funny, like just not being on it, because there's so many things to be on. You know, I like what I'm seeing so far. It's a little buggy in a couple places, but I like the UI. I've got to play with it on my cell phone. I'm not ready to make a judgment. I'm 30 seconds in or 25 minutes into it, but it's beta. I know a lot of people love it, as you can see by the audience. I mean, look, people are going to love access and engagement with people. This is, you know, Yahoo Live did this, you know, 9 years ago, 7 years ago. Me and Kevin Rose used to do this. It's all about access. You know, that's why people like it. Sure, you can put 4 people on a screen. I think that's a feature that anybody can add. So I don't think it's enough to, you know, do it. But I'm excited for its potential. I love live video. And I love that a lot of people love it. And I'm excited to, once I'm out of this coma, to make it one of the things that I look a little bit harder at. And when I say coma, I mean my book tour and like.
Okay, we have 2 last questions that go perfectly together. Jeff wants to know, what advice do you give? And I know you give this, you know, in the book often, but what advice do you give to a 23-year-old recent college graduate from, you know, a very good school, let's say, you know, University of Virginia or something, that wants to get into, you know, tech?
Self-awareness and patience, you know, just good old-fashioned stuff. I think that's the key. And so you got to know yourself. Go ahead, Er.
Knowing what you know about yourself now.
Well, I mean, that's a silly question. I think this question always makes me laugh because I have no regrets. I've done everything the way I've wanted to do it. But if I knew today, I would tell him to buy Google stock and Facebook stock. Like you know, what would I really tell him? If I knew what I knew today, I would tell him everything that happened in the world. I would tell him to like date like I would tell him to like date like girls that became famous. I would tell him before they became famous. I would tell him to buy Google stock. I would tell him to become friends with Elon Musk. I would tell him to like things so everybody thought he was a prophet. I mean, like if I really was to do it, I would do that. As far as if I didn't have that path, then I would just say to him, you know, man, listen, you're gonna be right. So. But I had utmost confidence to begin with. I didn't need my future. As a matter of fact, if my 40-year-old self came to my 25-year-old self and said, you're going to be right, I'd probably been like, fuck you, 40-year-old dude. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Get out of here. Like that's just the way it is.
That's funny. On a related note, last question. You are all about hustle and agency and opportunity. Let's just say a 25-year-old who has no college education, no.
Uh-oh. No real what, Eric? Yeah, I think you froze. All right. All right, guys. Well, I got to run to something anyway. Eric, what I would say, where I know where you're about to go, I would say to that, I would hire that kid. We hire plenty of kids that don't have education or go to crap schools. I'm a crap school kid. I don't think a good degree is the prerequisite to entrepreneurship or the things that I need. So that's that. Now to all of you over here in the live chat, I love you guys. I wish you nothing but the best. I know most of you, but a lot of you I didn't. And so it was great to meet you. I wish you nothing but the best. Hit me up on Twitter, Gary VEE, to say hey. Snapchat, Gary VEE. I'm bringing fire on there. And I love you. And buy 17 copies of the book right now. See ya. Love you guys. Now I got to find it. I'm just going to close it if I don't find it. That's the hide. Oh, that's cool. Last 30 seconds. I like that.